Nazareth, can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. Come and see, said Philip. Nathanael had a prejudice about the type of people who came from Nazareth. The good thing is, if we keep reading, we see that he changed his mind about Jesus. Dr. King, who we're about to hear about, experienced prejudice and fought against it as well. This is the story of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. His mother and father called him Michael, after his father, but when he was 5, his father changed his name and Martin's to Martin Luther King in honor of the great German reformer from the 16th century. Martin Luther fought to make the world better, and they did too. Martin had an older sister and younger brother. His father gathered the family for dinner every night at 6 p.m. and led them in lively discussions about God and the world. Daddy King felt it was important to discuss serious things with his children, even when they were very young. They often talked about how all people should be treated with respect. Martin's mother also talked with the children about important things. When Martin was 6, his best friend, who was white, told him that his parents said they couldn't play together anymore. This confused him. He became sad and angry. His mother took him on her lap and told him about slavery and prejudice, which is when someone doesn't like you just because they don't like the color of your skin. She reminded him that there are places in the Bible where the people of God overcame slavery and prejudice. He could too. When Martin grew up, he became a Baptist minister like his father and grandfather. He also began to work to change things so that African Americans would be treated the same as everyone else. No one knew how real change might begin until one day in 1955 in Montgomery, Alabama, an African American woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus for a white person. This changed everything. In those days, buses were divided into white, mixed, and black sections. She was sitting in the mixed section, but by law, black people still had to move to the back of the bus when told to. The bus driver told her to move to make room for some white people. The other black people moved, but Rosa didn't. She wasn't tired, she said, only tired of giving in to unjust laws. She was arrested, and African Americans became angry when they heard that. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. helped the black people of Montgomery fight peacefully. They stopped taking the bus. This way, no one was hurt by fighting, and the bus company lost money. Black people walked to work for 381 days, sometimes many miles. Do you know what happened? The city changed the law that forced black people to sit in the back of the bus. They could sit anywhere they wanted. This was the first of many peaceful protests that Dr. King organized that changed America forever. Working for change is never easy. It takes courage and faith. Many people were mean to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his family. Someone tried to blow up their house. Some tried to scare them with their words, but also with knives and guns. Many black people wanted to fight back, but Dr. King never gave in. He said peaceful actions will bring peaceful solutions. Even so, he was arrested and placed in jail 29 times for trying to change things by protesting against unjust laws. In 1963, a huge crowd of people came to Washington, D.C. to march for jobs and freedom. That's when Dr. King made his most famous speech. He said, "I have a dream to call people to be thankful to God and to work to make a dream for freedom come true for everyone." The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." This was also the year that he won the Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 34. The next year, the Civil Rights Act made much of his dream into law. But Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. kept on. He traveled the country working for change until one day in 1968 he was killed. He was in Memphis, Tennessee, working to organize another peaceful march. He was buried in Atlanta, where he was born. We remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because of his dream that African Americans would be treated the same as everyone else, and because he courageously traveled everywhere to make this dream come true through peaceful protest. I wonder what parts of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s story you like the best. I wonder what part of the story is the most important. I wonder what part of the story you might be able to see yourself in. I wonder where you can see God in this story. I wonder what God is teaching you through this story.